going.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Psych with Dr. DK. It is a brand new year, a brand new theme song that we have at the beginning. My husband actually created that for me, which is really cool. When you have a musician living in your house, you can ask for music and they're going to do it. Not that they're going to do it, but that they want to help you have good music. So yeah, you guys are going to get new music through this theme song. Once you hear it, you're going to be like, oh, this is a good jam. So I just wanted to welcome you back. It has been a while. I have not done a podcast in a couple of months. I got really busy, but also too, I think sometimes what happens is we jump into new things and then we start doubting ourselves. And I think for me, sometimes what happens is I'm like, well, not enough people are liking it or viewing it or sharing it, and it just is kind of me and one other person. And honestly, what I forget is that sometimes we just need to show up for the one or two people. And I want to do that better this year. So regardless of how many people watch this podcast, if it's 1, 0, if it's just me, if it's 5, then I hope you get something from this. So I'm going to be choosing topics to talk about throughout this year that kind of just come to my mind, the things that I think through, and also things that I've talked with friends and family about in depth. Now, one of the things that I want to keep in mind this year is I really want you guys to submit questions. If you have questions about psychology, if you have questions about maybe self-care or education, I want you guys to reach out. I want you to ask the questions because I'm going to tell you right now, you might be sitting in a position where maybe it's your couch, maybe it's your car, maybe you're at work, or you're just unhappy with where you're at and you're just like, I just want to ask this question. I feel so alone in this. I have anxiety. No one else seems to be talking about this. I have depression. I am addicted to eating, or I am addicted to not eating, or things of that nature. Like I have all of these things that I feel like I'm alone in and no one's there with me. This year, I want you to reach out. I want you to ask the questions. I want you to tell me where you're at because I can guarantee you that someone else that's listening to this and that hears your question has that same question. So one of the conversations that I wanted to talk about this year is poverty. Poverty, we think poverty is just financial poverty. We think that poverty means low economical status. Now, yeah, it means that, but it means so much more than that. The reason that people get into generational poverty, where just if you don't know what that is, generational poverty is that your grandparents have been in poverty where they didn't have any money, not just that they didn't have enough money, like they were poor. They didn't have enough food. They didn't have the lights on all the time in their house. Maybe they didn't even own a home. Maybe they were homeless, or maybe they were moving from place to place because they couldn't hold down a job and like you just didn't get enough. I know for me, that I have grown up in that, where our poverty is generational in our family. And it is on both sides where, they're just really low income individuals, lots of kids, couldn't really afford to take care of everything. Then that's just reality sometimes. There was never seemingly a different way to live. And when you look back at the generations and you look at your generation, the people your age, the people who are your parents who are older than you, their parents and their parents and their parents, that's considered generational. It's not just me who is in poverty while my family is like, they're doing okay. Within my family, we actually grew up in poverty. And there were times that we did not eat. There were times that we didn't have clothes without holes in them or shoes without holes in them. There were times that I remember having the water turned off for weeks at a time, or a sink breaking and we weren't able to afford to fix it. So we would wash our laundry, we would do dishes. We'd always do dishes by hand. We didn't have a dishwasher. I remember one time our laundry, I think it was our washer, completely pooped out and we couldn't afford another one. So we, for I don't know even how long, it's probably only weeks, but it felt like forever that we were washing our clothes in the bathtub and outside. So poverty, yes, can be generational. It can also be financial. But poverty, so it is financial. We know that mostly, but it also can be mental poverty. It can also be situational poverty, where it's just in a moment you're just really poor. You can't afford things. And now, when I say you can't afford things, again, I just want to make sure I reiterate this, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm so poor," and I'm like, "You just went out to lunch and like have your own car, and you have your water running and your electricity running, and it's kind of like, hey, you do have money, you just don't have a lot of money." That's not poverty. Now, within poverty, you could own a home, but you don't have the money to actually take care of it, and you're below the means of what it should be for the family size that you are. Now, there's a lot of people in America that are in that. There's a lot of people around the world who just don't have money. But then there is situational poverty, where it's periods of time where you don't have money and then you're fine. Now, with mental poverty, or a poverty mindset, what this is, it's driven fear that you're never going to have enough. So what tends to happen is that you convince yourself of circumstances that are in front of you that they're never going to change. So it's consistent. It's not a negative mindset. It's a poverty mindset, because you're like, wow, when I finally get this money, or I finally get this food, I'm acting as if it's the last time I'm ever going to eat. It's the last time I'm going to ever have this money. So I go and blow it instead of saving it or investing it. Or, you get this job and like, you're like, okay, I've been in poverty. I haven't had a job for a while. And then you just don't go to work because you're like, oh, nothing good is going to come of this. I'm never going to get out of this situation. I'm always going to have my behavior be influenced by the belief that I should not be where I'm at or go in this direction, because I'm living in this mentality. I remember a few times that I had to overcome that mentality. And I've watched other people overcome that mentality, because they had lived in poverty for so long, and we would get certain things, and we would get like this check, and then we'd blow it. And like, you kind of sit back and you're like, how did that money go like so fast? And when you look back at what you spent it on, it wasn't on like things like bills or, for food for the week. It was always like lavished gifts that we would get I'm just like, why would I spend my money on that? And what I've realized with this poverty mindset is that it's also considered just like a poor mindset. Like, oftentimes it's in education, we also call it fixed mindset and growth mindset. So that's kind of the same thing, where it's kind of like, I'm always going to be in this situation. I'm never going to get better. That's a fixed mindset. But with poverty, it's like you also put yourself in really bad situations because you don't know how to manage your money. So one of the things that I was looking it up, and poverty mindset can actually go both ways, where it is you blow all the money that you get and you just don't have it. And then there's the other side of fear of spending money, or getting things or having nice things, because you're just like, it's just going to be taken away. Like, I don't deserve this. So you get into this, maybe you get into a really nice job, and it's good paying money, and you just stop, like, you live off of the bare minimum, because you're just like, if this job ever goes away, I'm never going to get another one. So it's this mindset of just like this complete fear that guides your life. And that's such a dangerous mentality to be in, because of the fact that if you're so afraid to move, you're never going to take any risks. And their life is full of risks. And that can be a really big struggle. Now, there's the one side of the poverty mindset, where, we're blowing the money and we're self-indulging in things, and we're just not, we have low self-regulation, where we're not regulating what we should do. Like, we're not taking care of ourselves or taking care of the people around us, because we're just so self-focused. And then there's the other side of it, where we're so afraid to move, because we're like, well, if I move, then I'm going to lose everything again. And I've been in both the B sides, and the second side that I've been in is the side of just crippling fear. Now, I'm not really sure, in my opinion, if I would categorize that as poverty mindset, but more so of just being driven by fear. And I know I tell Mark this all the time, that I am a worrier by nature, and I worry about everything even if it doesn't happen. And I'm reading this book. It's called Get Out of Your Head by Jenny Allen. She is a Christian writer, and I love it because she actually says there is like 90 something thoughts, 90% of our thoughts, like 90, I think it's like 99% of our thoughts are worries. We think so much during the day, but 99% of the things that we're worrying about do not even happen. And we let that 99% of our worries just completely wash over us into crippling fear. And I know for myself, like, I have clearly finished my PhD. That's why, Psych with Dr. DK. That's why this is what that's called. But there is still that fear behind me of all of the things that have ever gone wrong in my life and losing all of these things that I've worked really hard for. Like, I don't know how many times that I have sat back and been like, man, life is good. And then a wave of horrible stuff has hit us. Me before being married, and just with my siblings, we've all experienced that. We've talked through that, and we're like, man, it's just like always one blow after the other. And I think what can happen is when we grow up in poverty, like when we finally see what a little bit of good is, we think that that's all that's coming. And then when we go through life and life just happens, life breaks us down and life sucks, then we get into this place of just like, okay, life is finally good again after being not so good. And then we're afraid of moving because we can lose those things. So I want to talk about COVID. I hope it doesn't get censored. It might. I hope it doesn't. But a lot of people have frozen their journeys. They have just been like, I can't do that. I can't go down that route. I'm stuck. I don't know why I'm stuck. I should be moving. I wasted 2 years waiting around for all of this stuff to blow over, and I just feel stuck. And I can tell you, I'm with you, and I understand that. I have been in that boat multiple times where I have felt complete and utter panic, but also just kind of like, what direction am I supposed to go through? What door am I supposed to open? Why can't I just get a chance at this? And I think that does come back to not even just a negative mindset, but a poor mindset of understanding that, like, how do I say this? But basically, if I were to look at every situation out of fear, I'm going to find the fear. I'm going to find how to break this down to make it just not enjoyable. I'm going to find a situation and I'm going to say, you know what? This situation can go wrong. And it's true. Every situation can go wrong. But when you start to do things that actually impact it to make it go wrong, by not showing up to work, being negative all the time, and you're not really working on trying to find the good in the situation, even when it's hard, you're just miserable. And sometimes it does impact you, and sometimes it impacts your ability to work, ability to get to work on time, and then you lose your job, and then you kind of have to look at that situation and be like, did I do something wrong? And you're just like, no, my life just sucks. That sometimes happens, in life, let's be real. And during all of the pandemic stuff, a lot of us kind of just froze in one way or another. It might have been for our benefit to say, hey, maybe we're going down the wrong road, and we just froze in our steps and we're like, we need to choose a different route. But very few people decided to use the pandemic to their benefit by staying in school or like career changes or things like that, because of fear of, well, if I leave my job, I'm not going to get another one. And this happened during the recession in 2008, when there was a lot of jobs that were out there, but people were just like, don't move. It was super hard to find a job. And I think this year, the reason why there has been such a great a resignation of jobs is because so many people are like, I'm tired of being in a position of fear. I need to take a chance on myself. So I want to challenge you. wherever you are at, maybe you're in a poverty mindset right now where you're just like, nothing good is going to happen. Nothing good has ever happened for me or my family. I have been in poverty forever. I just know this route. It's more comfortable, honestly, when you're in what you know. Now, it doesn't always feel good, but, there might be something that you need to ask yourself and say, hey, am I stuck here because I'm actually stuck here? Or am I stuck here because I'm choosing to stay here? The other question you can ask is, am I looking at other people's success and saying that's why I can't succeed? Because sometimes we do that. We're just like, well, so-and-so is doing this, so I can't now, which is not true. We can absolutely try. We're not going to know until we don't know if we're going to fail until we try. And if we fail, that doesn't mean that we're failures. It just means that didn't work and we got to get up and try something else. Another question you can ask yourself is, am I letting fear rule my life? Am I worrying my 99% to have the 1% happen? Or am I using that 99% thought process to say, you know what, this is scary, but this is doable. No one else has done this in my family. Like, no one else in my family has a PhD. No one in my family has been educated within getting degrees and stuff. But like, that doesn't mean that they're less than anything. It just means I chose a different route. But what it made it really hard because no one really understood what I was feeling or going through. And that was just more of a relatable thing. So I can find people who are in school and they can tell me like, oh my gosh, I experienced that too. So when you're going against the grain of what maybe your family has done, and maybe you're feeling that where it's like, well, if I had just chosen this route, maybe that would have been better for me. You have to really sit back and ask yourself, like, am I just pity partying right now? Or am I serious? Because if I'm going down the wrong route, I want to stop and go to the right route. But if I'm going to live my life in complete and utter fear all of the time, I'm just not going to get a chance to live. So I don't know where you're at. I don't know. This topic's been on my heart for a really long time, just to understand that there is a poverty mindset that we can hold, a fear mindset that we can hold, a very fixed mindset of I am not going to get anything no matter how hard I work. And it really comes down to victim mentality, where we're just like, everything's wrong with me. The world hates me. Nobody likes me. I'm going to eat some worms and then I'm going to cry about it because I'm making myself eat these worms when we have full control over what we can do. And I think that that's hard for me sometimes to be in these conversations, because I realize when people are like, you can do it. And I have a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs and they're just like, you can do it. You can own your own business. You don't need to work a 9 to 5. And sometimes I'm like, you just don't get it. You just don't understand. And I started really looking at their feedback, where it was like, they're not selling anything, but they're entrepreneurs, because they're just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail hard. I'm probably going to fall on my face, but I'm trying. And I'm proud of myself for trying. And I think when we look at the word success, we think money, cars, big house. But really, with my friends who are entrepreneurs, what I'm seeing, the biggest thing that they're saying is that they're happy. They're happy with being able to spend time with their family. They're happy with being able to spend time on going on vacations and owning their own schedule. And I think that when you live in a fear mindset all the time, you don't have happiness. And you're not able to, happiness is not material things. Happiness is enjoying the life you live, even if it's crap. And I think that once I started to see that my mind was shifting more toward okay, I can do this mentality, and then more toward a growth mindset, I started to see I could do hard things. And it doesn't mean it's going to be a swift, walk in the park. It's going to be so great. It was still hard. And then when I realized, and I said this to myself, hey self, life is going to hit you. It's going to happen. How are you going to find joy during that time? What can you find to make you laugh? What can you find to make that hard part a little easier? And really what I'm finding is when you're doing what you love and you're around people that you care for, you start to find the joy and happiness that way. So I'm going to challenge you. If you guys have questions about this, and I'm hoping that all of this made sense because I usually have things written out and I just wanted to kind of casually talk about this, but I want to open up the floor to you guys. If you have questions, reach out, but I want you to challenge yourselves. Ask yourself, like, am I living in a fear-driven mindset, or am I leaning toward growth? Now, the growth, you're not going to go from zero, where I was like zero depressed to just completely miserable to a happy in a second. It's not a just believe that you're happy mindset. It really is a lot of work. And you have to put the time and energy into saying, today I'm going to choose joy. Today I'm going to find the 3 good things that happened. And I'm going to address the bad. I'm going to say, okay, that really sucked, but this other good thing really happened. And then I'm going to take a step into something good. And then I'm going to take another step and another step. And soon you're going to be running and you're going to be like, man, I am so glad I took that step. And for me, I feel I'm happy with where I'm at in life because I'm trying to take risks. Instead of sitting back going, I wish I took a risk. I'm now being able to like, you know what? I'm really happy because I took a risk and I let that happen. And if it didn't work, it didn't work, and I try again. And that's what I think is so amazing about opportunity, is that you can try again and again and again. It might look different, but you're trying. And I think that is where we need to get mentally. So if you have questions, I want you guys to reach out to me and we can talk about all of the things that you have about that topic, and we can do these on the video. But I just wanted to, casually talk about that. I'm really excited to be back, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope it makes sense. But I hope you guys have a great day, and remember, it all starts with one step forward first, and then you can start running. Don't just stand there. Don't let yourself be stuck. Go out and try. And we'll see where you're at in a year. And then we can talk about it and laugh about it and cry about it. But I want you to believe in yourself a little bit, because that's where you're going to find happiness, is when you're able to say, hey, I did something and I tried and I took a risk and I'm with the people I love and I'm doing something that I love. So I'll see you next week. Have a great day.